It was a chilly evening in Palo Alto, California. The streets were quiet, except for the faint hum of electric cars gliding past. Elon Musk sat in the back seat of his Tesla Model S, scrolling through emails on his phone as he returned from yet another long day at SpaceX headquarters. He wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary, just another ride home after a grueling week. But then something caught his eye. A faded Uber sticker on the dashboard of the car he had just stepped into. It wasn't unusual to see drivers using rideshare apps these days, but there was something different about this one, something that made him pause mid-scroll. The driver, an older man with silver hair and glasses perched on the edge of his nose, greeted Elon politely. "Good evening," he said, adjusting the rearview mirror slightly. His voice carried a calmness that felt almost nostalgic, like the kind you'd hear in old black-and-white films. Elon nodded absent-mindedly, still preoccupied with work, but curiosity began creeping in. There was something familiar about the man's demeanor, something that didn't quite fit the stereotype of your average Uber driver. Maybe it was the way he handled the wheel or the subtle confidence in his movements. "Where to tonight?" the driver asked, breaking the silence. "Just heading home," Elon replied, giving the address. As they pulled away from the curb, the conversation naturally shifted to small talk. At first, it was nothing special, comments about the weather, the traffic, and how tech companies seemed to be taking over Silicon Valley. But then the driver casually mentioned something that stopped Elon dead in his tracks. "You know," the driver said, glancing briefly at Elon in the mirror, "back in my day, we used to dream big too. Building rockets, landing humans on the moon. It was all so exciting." Elon froze. His fingers hovered above his phone screen, forgotten for the moment. "Wait," he said, leaning forward slightly. "You worked on space missions?" The driver chuckled softly, a warm sound that filled the car. "Oh, I did more than just work on them. I designed parts of the Apollo program. Lived and breathed those projects for years." Elon blinked, stunned. This couldn't be real. A retired NASA engineer driving an Uber, it sounded like something out of a movie. Yet here it was, unfolding right before his eyes. "Your name?" Elon asked, trying to keep his tone casual despite the whirlwind of questions spinning inside his head. "John Carter," the driver replied, smiling faintly. "Retired now, obviously. Just doing what I can to make ends meet." Elon stared at him, disbelief written across his face. John Carter. The name rang a bell, though faintly. Wasn't he the guy behind some groundbreaking propulsion systems back in the 1970s? Or maybe it was the navigation software that helped guide early lunar landings. Either way, this wasn't just any ordinary driver. As the car cruised down the highway, Elon found himself unable to resist asking more. "Why are you driving Uber if you've got such an incredible background?" John shrugged, keeping his focus on the road. "Times change, budget cuts, layoffs, things happen. Besides, I enjoy meeting people. Keeps me sharp." Sharp, that was an understatement. Over the next few minutes, John regaled Elon with stories from his time at NASA, tales of late-night brainstorming sessions, cutting-edge experiments, and the sheer thrill of pushing boundaries no one thought possible. Each word painted vivid pictures of a bygone era when humanity dared to reach for the stars. But then came the twist. Halfway through their journey, John suddenly turned to Elon, his expression serious. "You're working on rockets now, aren't you?" Elon hesitated, unsure where this was going. "Yeah, among other things. Why do you ask?" John smiled knowingly. "Because I think I might have something that could help you, something nobody else knows about." And with that single sentence, everything changed. Elon sat upright in the seat, his mind racing. "Something nobody else knows about," he repeated, his voice tinged with skepticism, but laced with intrigue. The idea of a hidden secret from NASA's golden age was almost too good to be true. John nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting the glow of the dashboard lights. "It's not exactly common knowledge," he admitted. "Back in the late 60s, we were experimenting with propulsion systems that could revolutionize space travel. but the project got shelved before it ever saw the light of day. Why would they stop something like that? Elon asked, leaning closer. For someone who had spent years pouring resources into making space exploration cheaper and faster, the thought of abandoned breakthroughs gnawed at him. John sighed, gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. Politics, mostly, budget constraints. And let's face it, there were skeptics within our own ranks. Some believed the technology wasn't ready for prime time. Others thought it was too risky. So they buried it, literally locked it away in archives no one bothered to revisit. Elon felt a spark ignite deep inside him. He'd built his career on challenging conventional wisdom, proving that what seemed impossible today could become reality tomorrow. If John's claim held water, this could be the missing piece to unlocking new frontiers in space exploration. But why tell me now? Elon pressed, his curiosity burning brighter with each passing second. John glanced at him again, his gaze piercing despite the dim lighting. Because you remind me of us back then. Visionaries willing to take risks others wouldn't dare. You're building rockets capable of reaching Mars, right? Imagine what you could achieve with this. The car fell silent as Elon processed the implications. What if John really did hold the key to a forgotten technological marvel? It wasn't just about advancing SpaceX, it was about rewriting history itself. As they approached a quiet residential street, John slowed the vehicle and pulled over near a modest two-story house. "This is where I live," he said, turning off the engine. "And out back in my garage is a box. A very special box." Elon frowned. "A box?" John chuckled softly. "Not just any box. Inside are blueprints, notes, calculations, everything needed to bring that old project back to life. Of course, there's no guarantee it'll work. Time has a way of eroding even the best-laid plans." Without hesitation, Elon unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out of the car. "Let's see it," he said firmly, already moving toward the garage. John followed, grabbing a set of keys from his pocket. The door creaked open, revealing a cluttered workspace filled with tools, shelves lined with dusty books, and a single wooden crate sitting prominently in the corner. Opening the crate revealed stacks of yellowed papers, diagrams scrawled with intricate mathematical equations, and photographs of lab equipment long since decommissioned. Among them was a prototype, a small cylindrical device covered in rust, but still intact. "What is this?" Elon asked, picking up the object carefully. "It's called the quantum thruster," John explained. "If properly restored and scaled up, it could drastically reduce the energy required for interplanetary travel. Think of it as a bridge between classical physics and quantum mechanics applied to propulsion." Elon stared at the device, his heart pounding. This wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a potential game-changer for the future. But then doubt crept in. How do I know this isn't some elaborate prank? Or worse, a dead-end project? John smiled knowingly. "Fair question. Take it back to your labs, test it, prove it works or doesn't. Either way, I trust you'll treat it with the respect it deserves." For the first time in years, Elon felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Here was a chance to uncover a piece of history that could redefine modern space exploration. But failure wasn't an option, not when so much was at stake. Elon carefully wrapped the quantum thruster in a soft cloth and placed it inside a protective case. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was holding something monumental, something that could alter the course of humanity's journey into the cosmos. "Thank you," Elon said sincerely, extending his hand to John, "for trusting me with this." John shook it firmly, his grip steady despite his age. "You're welcome. Just promise me one thing, if this works, don't forget where it came from. And if it doesn't, well, maybe someone else will pick up the torch someday." With that, Elon climbed back into the Tesla, the device securely tucked away in the passenger seat beside him. As the car sped off into the night, his mind raced with possibilities. Could this really be the breakthrough he'd been searching for? Or was it another dead end in a long line of promising yet unfulfilled ideas? Back at SpaceX headquarters, Elon wasted no time assembling a team of top engineers and physicists to examine the quantum thruster. The news spread quickly through the company, sparking both excitement and skepticism. Some believed it was worth exploring, others thought it was nothing more than wishful thinking. The initial tests began cautiously. Under controlled conditions, the team attempted to replicate the experiments outlined in John's notes. At first, progress was slow. Many of the calculations seemed outdated, requiring modern adaptations to fit current technology. But as they worked, patterns emerged, patterns that hinted at a deeper understanding of how energy could be harnessed in ways previously unimaginable. One evening, as the lab buzzed with activity, a junior scientist named Priya shouted from across the room, "Guys, look at this." She held up a data printout, showing unexpected fluctuations in energy output during their latest test run. Elon rushed over, scanning the numbers closely. "What does it mean?" Priya hesitated, her eyes wide with disbelief. "It means, it might actually work. The thruster isn't just reducing energy consumption, it's amplifying it somehow, like it's drawing power from somewhere else, somewhere else." Those words echoed in Elon's mind. Could the quantum thruster tap into an entirely new source of energy, one that defied traditional physics? If true, the implications were staggering. It wouldn't just change space travel, it could revolutionize energy production on Earth as well. But with great potential came great risk. As the team delved deeper into the project, they encountered challenges that tested their resolve. Strange anomalies began occurring during testing, equipment malfunctioning, readings fluctuating wildly, even brief moments when the thruster seemed to disappear entirely before reappearing seconds later. Word of these bizarre occurrences reached John, who called Elon late one night. "I knew there'd be complications," he admitted over the phone. "That's why the project was shelved in the first place. But if you can figure out what's causing them, you'll unlock its full potential." Elon thanked him again, though deep down, he wondered if they were biting off more than they could chew. Still, quitting wasn't an option. Not now, not ever. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure mounted. The team worked tirelessly, fueled by equal parts determination and caffeine. Every breakthrough brought new questions, every answer led to deeper mysteries. Yet, despite the challenges, a sense of camaraderie grew among the scientists and engineers. They were on the brink of something extraordinary, and no one wanted to be left behind. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the lab, Priya approached Elon with a hesitant expression. "Sir," she began, her voice tinged with both excitement and caution, "we might have found something." Elon looked up from his workstation, his interest immediately piqued. "Go on." Priya gestured toward a monitor displaying complex graphs and equations. "The anomalies, they're not random, there's a pattern to them. It's like the thruster is interacting with another dimension." Another dimension. The words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Elon stared at the screen, his mind racing. Could the quantum thruster somehow access alternate realities, or was it merely a side effect of its advanced technology? "We need to test this further," Elon said, his tone resolute. "But we also need to proceed carefully. If we're wrong, we risk destabilizing the entire system, or worse." Over the next few days, the team devised a series of experiments designed to probe the boundaries of the thruster's capabilities. Using cutting-edge sensors and computational models, they monitored its behavior under increasingly extreme conditions. What they discovered left everyone speechless. The quantum thruster wasn't just amplifying energy, it was creating tiny rifts in space-time itself. These rifts were unstable, collapsing almost instantly, but their existence suggested that the device could, in theory, open pathways to other dimensions, or even distant points in time. Elon called an emergency meeting with the core team. "This changes everything," he declared, pacing back and forth in front of the assembled group. "If we can stabilize these rifts, we could unlock travel not only across vast distances in space, but potentially across different timelines as well." The room buzzed with murmurs of awe and concern. Some saw endless possibilities, others feared the consequences of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension. We need to consult experts outside our immediate circle, Elon continued. People who specialize in theoretical physics, cosmology, even philosophy. We need all the perspectives we can get. And so the project expanded. SpaceX reached out to universities, research institutions, and independent thinkers around the globe. Invitations were extended to brilliant minds, willing to collaborate on what many considered the most ambitious scientific endeavor since the invention of the atomic bomb. As the global community rallied around the quantum thruster, John watched from afar, content in the knowledge that his life's work might finally see. He sent occasional updates to Elon, sharing insights gleaned from decades of experience. Remember, he wrote in one email, science isn't about certainty, it's about curiosity. Keep asking questions, and you'll find your answers. Meanwhile, back at SpaceX, tensions ran high. With each successful test came greater scrutiny, both internally and externally. Critics questioned the ethics of manipulating spacetime, while supporters hailed the project as humanity's greatest leap forward since landing on the moon. Elon faced mounting pressure to deliver results. Investors demanded proof of concept, governments expressed interest and concern, and the media speculated wildly about the implications of interdimensional travel. Through it all, Elon remained steadfast, driven by a vision that transcended personal gain. Finally, after months of relentless effort, the moment arrived. In a secluded facility deep in the desert, surrounded by cameras and observers, the team prepared for the ultimate test, stabilizing a space-time rift long enough to send a small probe through it. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Every eye was fixed on the monitors as the quantum thruster hummed to life, its cylindrical form glowing faintly in the dim light. 7, 6, 5. Energy readings surged, then stabilized. 4, 3, 2. A shimmering portal appeared, hovering silently in the center of the chamber. 1. The probe launched, disappearing into the rift without a sound. For a brief, tense moment, silence reigned supreme. Then, data began streaming in, coordinates, environmental readings, images of a world unlike anything ever seen before. They had done it. The impossible had become possible. The room erupted in cheers, applause, and shouts of jubilation. Scientists hugged one another, engineers pumped their fists in triumph, and even the usually stoic analysts allowed themselves a moment of unbridled joy. Elon stood frozen, staring at the monitor, as streams of data painted a picture of an alien landscape, a world with two suns, crystalline forests, and skies that glowed faintly purple. But amidst the celebration, a sobering thought crept into his mind. This wasn't just about proving the quantum thruster worked, it was about understanding the implications of what they had achieved. Opening pathways to other dimensions or timelines came with unimaginable risks. What if something, or someone, came back through the rift? What if humanity wasn't ready for the consequences? Elon called for silence, raising his hands above the crowd. This is incredible, he began, his voice steady but tinged with caution. But we must remember, with great power comes great responsibility. We've only scratched the surface of what this technology can do. Before we move forward, we need to ensure we fully understand the risks involved. The mood shifted instantly. The excitement gave way to thoughtful contemplation, as the team realized the weight of their discovery. Questions poured forth. How could they control the rifts? Could they prevent unintended breaches? And perhaps most importantly, should they continue down this path at all? John's words echoed in Elon's mind. Science isn't about certainty, it's about curiosity. But curiosity alone wasn't enough. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. Over the following weeks, SpaceX collaborated with global experts to establish strict protocols for managing the quantum thruster. Safety measures were implemented, redundancies built into every system, and contingency plans drafted for every conceivable scenario. Meanwhile, the probe sent through the rift continued transmitting data, offering tantalizing glimpses of worlds beyond imagination. Yet, not everyone shared the optimism. Critics emerged from every corner, decrying the project as reckless, dangerous, or both. Governments demanded oversight, while environmentalists warned of unforeseen ecological impacts. Even within the scientific community, dissent grew. Some argued that tampering with space-time was akin to playing God, a risk too great to justify. Elon faced these challenges head-on, appearing on talk shows, giving interviews, and writing op-eds to explain the potential benefits of the technology.